All right, your Part 232 brake system safety stand for freight and other non-passenger trains and equipment and of the train devices. Subpart A, General Scope. This part describes the federal safety standards for freight, other non-passenger train brake system. The equipment of Subpart E is part of the prescribed the federal safety standards, not only the freight and other non-passenger train brake systems equipment, and but also passenger trains brake system. This does not restrict the railroad from adopting and enforcing additional more stringent requirements not inconsistent with this part, except for the otherwise specifically provided in paragraph or in this part of the railroad with which the part applies. Such shall comply with the requirements contained in Subpart A through C and Subpart F of the part of the beginning with the April 1st, 2004, Section 232.1 through the 232.113, 213.117, and through 213.232.21. This part will applicable all railroads on to which the part applies with the beginning of the May 31st, 2001 subpart D. If this part becomes applicable for the all railroads to which the part applies beginning with the August 1st, 2001 subpart E. But this part will become applicable for all the trains operating with the track in which the part of the general railroad system transportation begins in May 31st, 2001. A railroad may request either the application requirements of it contained with the subpart A through C of the subpart F. This part of the written notification to the FRA's Associated Administrator of Safety. Such a request shall be indicated with the railroad's readiness and ability to comply with all the requirements contained with this subpart, except for the operations identified in 232.3, C1, C4, and C6 through C8, with all the railroads which are part of the general railroad system. Transportation shall operate in pursuant to the requirements contained in this part of 232 as existing on May 31st, 2001. Include the Appendix B of this part until they are either required to operate the pursuant to the requirements contained in this part of the requirements contained with the part 238 with the chapter. They may elect to comply with either earlier than otherwise required with the requirements contained within this part of the requirements contained with the part 238 of this chapter. 232.3 applicability, except for the provided in the paragraphs B and C of this section. This part applied for the railroad that operate with the freight and other non-passenger trains served with the standard gauge track, which is part of the general railroad system of the transportation. This includes the operation of circus trains and private cars with the haul with such railroads. Subpart E of this part with the end of the train devices applied with all the trains operating within the track, which is part of the general railroad system transportation, unless specifically accepted in the subpart exempt as provided in the statute 232.1d and paragraph B of this section. This part does not apply to 1. The railroad that operates only with the track inside of the installation that is not part of the general railroad system, or the transportation intercity commuter passenger operating with the standard gauge track, which is part of the general railroad system of the transportation. 3. The commuter other short haul rail passenger operations metropolitan suburban areas described in Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 201.002. 1. Included with the public authority operating passenger train service with rapid transit operations in an urban area that are not connected with the general railroad system of the transportation, tour, scenic history, excursions, operation whether on and off with the general railroad system. 7. 6. The freight, other non-passenger trains of four-wheel coal cars, freight and other non-passenger trains of eight-wheel standard loading cars at the height of each of the car from which the top of the rail with the center of the coupling is not more than 25 inches, or a locomotive is used in hauling with the train referred in paragraph C7 of the section of the locomotive of the cars of the train are used only with the transport logs. The provision formerly contained with the Interstate Commerce Commission ordered with 13.528 May 30th, 1945, is amended but now revoked and codified with the paragraph. This part is not applicable to the following equipment: scales, test weights, cars, locomotive cranes, steam shovels, pile drivers, machines, and similar construction maintenance for the machines prior to September 21st, 1945. Experts, industrial, and other cars not to be owned with the railroad, but not to be used in service except for the movement of the shipments and other own wheels given the destination. The such cars shall be properly identified with the car attached to each side of the car and signed with the shipper stating on the such movement is being made under the authority of the paragraph. For industrial other than railroad-owned cars that are not to be used in service except for the movement which in the limits single switching district and within the limits of any industrial facility, narrow gauge cars, cars exclusively in switching operations not used for the train movement in which the meaning of the federal safety applies to the laws of Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 20301 through 20306. Definitions. The definitions in this section intended to clarify the meaning of the terms used in this part of it and becomes applicable to pursuant to section 232.1 to B and C. The Association of American Railroads, AAR, air brake means the combination of devices operated with the compressed air and arranged within the system, controlled manually, electronically, pneumatically, by means of which the motion of the railroad car or locomotive is retarded or arrested. The airflow indicator with the AFM. Airflow indicator means that the specific flow of the air indicator required for the airflow method qualifying the train and the air brakes. The airflow indicator with the airflow indicator is calibrated for the airflow measuring device, clearly visible in legible in daylight and darkness from the engineer's normal operating position with the indicator face displays. Markings of the 10 cubic feet per minute or 80 feet cubic feet per minute in the increments of 10 cubic feet per minute or less. Numerals indicating 20 to 40, 60 to 80 cubic feet per minute with the contained monitoring of the airflow. A bind means a restricted intended for the movement of one or more of the brake system component with reduced clearance by the obstruction and increased friction. Brake dynamic means the train braking system where the kinetic energy of the moving of the train is used to generate the electrical current with the locomotive traction motor in which it is dissipated through the resistor grid or into the catenary or third rail system. The brake effectiveness means a brake that is capable of producing nominally designed retarding force of the train and car brakes. Air brake is not considered effectively and is not capable of producing its own nominal design retarding force of its own piston travel exceeding 10.5 inches if the car is equipped with a nominal 12-inch stroke brake cylinders, and 2, the piston travel limited indicated with the stencil sticker and the badge plate from the brake cylinder. The brake hand means the brake that which can be applied with the release of the hand, preventing with the retard the movement of the locomotive. Brake indicator means the device in which it indicates the brake application range indicates whether the brakes are applied with the release. Brake interruptive means the primary brake for any other reason no longer applies with the release of the intended brake. An operative dynamic means a dynamic brake that for any reason no longer provides for the designed retarding force of on the train. Brake parking means a brake that can be applied means other than by hand, such as a spring, hydraulic, air pressure when the brake pipe air is depleted, or by an electrical motor. Brake pipe means a system of the piping including the branch pipes, the angle cocks, cutout cocks, dirt collectors, hoses, and hose couplings used in the connecting of locomotives in all railroad cars with passengers or compressed air. The brake primary means that the components of the train brake system necessary to stop the train within the signal spacing the distance without thermal damage to the friction braking surfaces. A brake secondary means that the components of the train brake system which to develop the supplemental brake retarding force that is not needed to stop the train within the signal speeding its distances to prevent thermal damage to the wheels. Car control devices, or CCDs, means of an electronic control device that replaces the functional conventional pneumatic service emergency portion of the car air brakes controlled during the electronic braking provided with the electronic control services emergency brake application. Dual mode of the ECPs, or electronically controlled pneumatic. Dual mode electronically controlled pneumatic brake system means an electronically controlled pneumatic brake system that is equipped with either an emulator of the car control device or an overlay of the electronic controlled pneumatic brake system on each of the car, which can be operated with either the electronic controlled pneumatic brake mode off or conventional pneumatic brake mode. The environmental ECP means electronically controlled pneumatic when applied to the brake or brakes. Electronically controlled pneumatic brake mode means of operating the car or entire train using an electronically controlled pneumatic brake system. Electronic controlled pneumatic brake system means that the train power braking system actuated with the compressed air control with electronic signal with the locomotive at the end electronically controlled pneumatic end of the train of the car is consisting of services and emergency applications in which the brake pipe is used to provide the consistent supply of the compressed air to the reservoir each of the car, but does not convey the braking signal to the car. The engine control electronic controlled pneumatic brake systems include dual mode and standing alone electronic control pneumatic brake systems. Electronically controlled pneumatic end of the train devices means that the end of the train device and for the end electrical control pneumatic breakdown system. It's physically the last network node of the train pneumatically electronically connected with the end of the train and line cable operating with the electronically controlled pneumatic brake system. Alright, your emergency application means the irretrievable brake application resulting in the maximum retarding force of the applicable of the train braking system. Your emulator car control device. Your car control device that is capable of optional emulation functioning of the pneumatic control valve of the conventionally breaks the train. The end of the train device one way means the two pieces of the equipment linked by radio. That means the requirements of 232.403. The end of the train device is two-way means the two pieces of the equipment linked by the radio. That means the requirements of 232.403 and 233.405. The foul means any condition with the restricted intent of the movement of the one or more brake systems components because if the component is snagged and entangled or twisted. Freight car means a vehicle designed to carry or freight and railroad personnel by rail or and a vehicle designed for the use of the work of the work train other than non-passenger. The initial terminal means of a location where the train is originally assembled. Locomotive means a place with the railroad on-track equipment other than high rail, specialized maintenance, or other similar equipment, which may consist of one or more of the units operated with a single control stand with one or more propelling monitors designed for the moving of the railroad equipment. 2, with one or more propelling motors designed to transport freight or passenger traffic, or both. And 3, without propelling motors but one or more of the control stands. A locomotive cab means a portion of the superstructure designed for the occupational by the crew operating the locomotive. Locomotive control means of the locomotive from the engineers exercise control over the train. Off air means of the non-connected to the continuous source of the compressed air at least 60 pounds per square inch. The order date and the date ordered means of the date of the when notices of the proceed with the given and procuring railroad to contract the supply of the new equipment. Overlay electrical control pneumatic brake system means the brake system that has been conventionally pneumatic brake system of the valve and electronical control pneumatic brake components, making it capable of operating either the conventional pneumatic brake system or the electronical control pneumatic brake system. The brake system can operate with either the conventional brake training using the conventional pneumatic control valve in the electronic control pneumatic brake training using the electronic control pneumatic brake system and the car's control device. I'm sorry, I let back on that. Alright, your piston travel means the linear movement of the air brake hollow over the rod is equivalent with the piston rod with the force outward for the movement of the pistons into the brake system. Actuator limited by the brake shoes being forced against the wheel or disc. Pre-revenue services acceptance and testing plan. Means of the document further specified in Statute 232.505 prepared with the railroad that explains the detail of how the pre-revenue services test with a certain equipment to demonstrate the equipment meets the federal safety standards and the railroad-owned safety design requirements. Previously tested equipment means the equipment that received the Class 1 brake test pursuant to Statute 232.205 and has not been far off of air more than 4 hours. Primary responsibility of the means of the task of the person performing the least 50% of the time. The totality of the circumstance will be considered with the case-by-case basis and circumstance where an individual does not spend 50% of the day engaged in any one of the readily identified type of activity. Qualified mechanical inspector. Means of a qualified person that has received the part of the training qualification designated program acquired under the Statute 232.203 instruction and training, including the hands-on experience under the appropriate supervision and apprenticeship in one or more of the following functions: troubleshooting, inspection, testing, maintenance, repair of the specific training brake components and the systems of which the person is assigned to the responsibility. The person shall also pose the current understanding of which is required and properly repaired for the maintaining safe critical brake components for which the person is assigned with responsibility. Further, the qualified mechanical inspector shall be a person who is primarily responsible, includes work generally consistent with the functions listed in the definitions. Qualified person means a person who has received part of the training qualification designation program under the required Statute 232.203 of the instruction. Training necessary to perform one of the more of the following functions required under this part of the railroad is responsible for the determining of that the person has the knowledge and skills necessary to perform the railroad required function for which the person is assigned. Responsibility of the railroad determines the qualification and competency of the employees designated to perform the various functions in the manner set forth by the part. Although the rule uses the term qualified person to describe the person responsible for performing the various functions required under this part, a person may be deemed qualified to perform some functions, not qualified to perform other functions. For example, although the person may be deemed qualified performance of a Class 2 intermediate brake test required by this part, the same person may or not be deemed qualified to perform a Class 1 initial terminal brake test or authorize the movement of the defective equipment under the part. The railroad will determine the required functions whether the individual will be deemed qualified person based upon the instruction and the individual received pursuant to the Statute 232.203 concerning the particular function. Railroad means any form of the non-highway ground transportation that runs on rails, electro-pneumatic guideways included commuter and other short-haul railroad passenger services, metropolitan, suburban area commuter railroad services that was operated with the Consolidated Railroad Corporation January 1st, 1979. The high-speed ground transportation of the connected metropolitan with regard with those systems of the new technology not associated with the traditional railroads. The term railroad is also intended with the means of the person provided with the transportation of the railroad, whether directly with the contract or out of operation with the railroad to another person. The term does not include the rapid transit operations in the urban area that are not connected to the general railroad system of the transportation. Rebuilt equipment means the equipment that has undergone overhaul of the identified by the railroad as capital expense under the surface of the Transportation Board's accounting. Refresher training means the periodic retraining required for the employees contractors required remaining qualified to perform specific equipment troubleshooting, inspection, testing, maintenance, and repairing functions. Responding as intended means to produce the result of the device and system designed to produce. Roll-by inspection means an inspection performed while the equipment is moving. The servicing application means the break application of the results of one or more of the service reductions or the equivalent service. Reduction means the decrease of brake pipe pressure, usually 5 to 25 psi at the rate sufficiently rapid to move the operating valve to the surface of the position at the rate not rapid enough to move the operating valve to the emergency position. Your solid block of cards mean are two or more freight cards coupled together and added to removed from the train as a single unit. Standalone car control device means if the car control device can operate properly only when the train operating with the engine and electrical control pneumatic brake mode cannot operate with the conventional pneumatic brake train. Standalone and electronic control pneumatic brake system means that the brake system equipped with the car control device that can operate with brakes on the car with the electronic control pneumatic device brake mode. The state inspector means the inspector for the participating with the state rail safety program under the stat part 212 with the chapter switch mode means for the mode of the operating with the electronic control pneumatic brake system that allows the operation of the train at 20 miles an hour per miles an hour less with the train's electronic control pneumatic end of the train device that is not communicating with the lead of the locomotives or the HEU of the train is separated during the switching of the operation. The electronic control pneumatic brake system has stopped the train because of the percent of the operated brake that fell below 85%. Many of the electronic control pneumatic brake systems fault detection response procedures are suspended during switching mode. Or switching services means that the classification freight cars according to the amount of the destination assembling with the cars with the train moves changing the position of the car and purpose of the loading. Unloading, weighing, and placing of the locomotive of the car, repairing, storage, removing the railway equipment with a connection with the work surface that does not constitute the train, moving the tourist and scenic history or excursion operation of the railroad operation that carry the passengers that have often antiquated and antique equipment that they convey with of the passenger to a particular destination, not being principal purpose. If the train means of one or more locomotives coupled with one or more freight cars, except during the switching service, the train line means for the brake pipe and the non-pneumatical system used with the transmit signal that controls the locomotive and freight car brakes. The train line capable is a two-conductor electrical wire spanning the train from there carrying both electrical power to operate with the car control devices, electronic control pneumatic end of the train devices, and communication network circuit signal. Train unit and train cycle means a train, except for the changing of the locomotive power and for the removal of the replacement and defective equipment, remains coupled at a consistent operates in the consistent loop of the continuous loops without destination. Or your transfer train means the train that travels between a point of the origin and a point of the final destination, not exceeding 20 miles. Such trains may pick up, deliver freight equipment while en route. The destination yard air means the source of compressed air throughout other than from the locomotive. The yard limits may be system of the tracks not included with the main track siding used to classifying cars, making up inspection trains, or storing cars and equipment. Alright, 232.5 definitions. Mechanical securement device means a device other than the air brake that provides at least equivalent securement with a sufficient number of the hand brakes with provided with the same situation. Current example includes skates, retarders, and air retarders. Unintended equipment such means of equipment left standing on span in such a manner that the brake system of the equipment cannot be readily controlled by a qualified person. Alright, 232.7 waivers. Any person subject to the requirement of the part of the petition for the administrative of the waiver, the compliance with such of the requirement, the filling of the petition does not affect that the person responsible for the compliance with the requirement will, within the petition, is considered. Each of the petition with the waiver must be filed with the manner with containing the information required in Part 2.11 of this chapter. If the administration finds that the waiver complies with the public interest and consistent with the railroad safety, and administrator may grant the waiver of the subject any condition for the administrator deemed necessary. If the waiver is granted, the administrator publishes the notice with Federal Register contains the reason for the granting of the waiver. The 232.9. Responsibility for compliance. A railroad shall with the part of shall not use the haul permit use the haul on this line off of the interchange except the interchange of any of the train, railroad car, locomotive with or more of the condition not compliance with the part of the however the railroad shall not be liable for the civil penalty for any action, such action in accordance with the statute 232.15 for the purpose of this train, the railroad car or locomotive will be considered prior to departure and after it has been received shall have received the inspection required for the movement deemed ready for service. Although it may be the requirements of this part to be stated in the terms of the duty of the railroad with any of the person performing the function required for this part that the person whereof and not the railroad is required to perform that function in accordance with this part. Any person performing the function task required by this part shall be deemed and having consented with the FRA inspection in person and operation extent within necessary to determine whether the function of the task is being performed in accordance with the requirements of this part. Alright, 232.11 penalties. Any person, including but not limited to the railroad, any manager, supervisor, official, other employee, agent of the railroad, any owner, manufacturer, leaser, or lesser of the railroad equipment, track of the facilities, any employer with such owner with the manufacturer, leaser, or lesser, independent with the contractor who violates the requirement of this part of the the violation of any such requirement is subject to the civil penalty of at least $650, but not more than $25,000 per violation, except that the penalties may be assessed against the individual with a willful violation and the grossly negligent violation or apparent with the repeated violations created with the imminent hazard of the death and injury of the person has been caused the death of the injury, a penalty not exceeding $105,000 per violation may be assessed. Each day of the violation continues to such constitutes separate offense. Appendix A with this part contains a schedule of civil penalties amounts to use in connection with this rule. Any known person knowingly, willfully falsifies a record of report required for this part, subject to the criminal penalties under Title 49 U.S. Standards Code 21.311. 232.13 preemptive effects under Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 20106 is issuance of the regulation of the part preemptive and the state law rules and regulation ordered with the standard covering the same subject matter, except for the provision necessary to eliminate the reduce the local safety hazard for the provision not incompatible with the part does not impose the undue burden of the interstate commerce. Nothing in the paragraph that shall be constructed with the preemptive action under the state law seeking damage of personal property, damage alleging the party that has failed to comply with the federal standard care of the established by the part that has failed to comply with its own plans and rules and standard that has created with the pursuit of the part. This part has failed to comply with the state law regulations or others that not incompatible with the first sentence of the paragraph. RB, preemptive should be considered with the pursuant Locomotive Boiler Inspection Act, no codified in Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 20701 through 20703. The Appliance Acts are now codified in the Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 20301 through 20304. Commerce Clause based on the relevant case law pertaining to the preemptive under the provisions. The FRA does not intend the issuing of the regulation part of the preemptive provision state criminal law that imposes the sanctions of the reckless conduct leads to actual cost of life and injury damage of the property, whether the such provision apply specifically to railroad employees and generally the public at large. Alright, 232.15, movement of defective equipment, general provisions, except for the provided with the paragraph C of the section of the railroad car and locomotive within one more of the conditions notice compliant with the part may be used and hauled without civil penalty liability under this part if all of the following conditions are met. The defective car of the locomotive is properly equipped with accordance with the applicable provision of Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 203, with Chapter 203. Requirements of this part of the car locomotive is deemed defective in the while with being used in the railroad on its line or becomes defective on the line connecting the railroad and properly accepted into the interchange for the repairs in accordance with the paragraph 87 of this section. The railroad of the first discovered the defective condition of the car locomotive prior to the moving and the repairs. The movement of the defective car locomotive the repairs from the location where the car and locomotive is first discovered defective by the railroad. The defective car and locomotive cannot be repaired by the location where the railroad first discovered the defective. The movement of the car and locomotive is necessary to make the repairs of the defective condition of the location in which the car locomotive is being taken with the repair in the nearest available location where the necessary repairs can be performed on the line railroad where the car or the locomotive is first found to be defective in the nearest available location where the nearest repairs can be performed on the line of the connection railroad. 1. The connection, the connection railroad elects to accept the defective car and locomotive of such repair to the nearest available location when the nearest repairs can be performed on the line with the connecting railroad no further than the nearest available location when necessary. The repairs can be performed on the line of the railroad where the car or locomotive was found. 8. The movement of the defective car and locomotive for the repairs are not in train required to receive a Class 1 brake test for the location pursuant to Statute 232. 205. The movement of the defective car or locomotive of the repairs is not in the train, which less than 85% of the cars have operative and effective brakes. The defective car of the locomotive is tagged information recorded with the prescribed paragraph B of the section. 11. Except for the cars, the locomotive brake out and cut out en route, the following additional requirements are met. The qualified personnel shall determine A, that the safe is the move of the car of the locomotive. B, the maximum safe speed of the restriction necessary to safely conduct the movement. 2, the person in the change of the train, charge of the train with the car or locomotive move to notify with the writing and inform the other crew that the presence of the defective car and locomotive the maximum speed of the restrictions determined in the paragraph A11(1)B with the section copy of the tag of the car described in paragraph B of the section move to use the provided with the notification required with this paragraph. 3, the defective car or locomotive is moved in compliance with the maximum speed other than restrictions determined under the paragraph A11(1)B of this section. 12. The defective car or locomotive is not subject to special notice of the repair under Part 216 of the chapter unless the movement of the defective car is made in accordance with the restriction contained in special notice. B. Tagging. The defective car, 1, at the place of the railroad first, discover the defect of the tag of the car shall be placed on both sides of the defective equipment, except for the defective locomotives may have the tag of the car placed on in the cab of the locomotive. In the lieu of the tag of the car, the automated tracking system approved. The use of the FRA shall be provided. The tagging card automated brake system shall be contained with the following information about the defective equipment. 1. The reporting mark of the car of the locomotive number, the name of the inspection railroad, the name of the job title of the inspector. 4. The inspection location and the date. 5. The nature of each of the defects. 6. The description of any of the movement restrictions. 7. The destination where the equipment will be repaired. 18. The signature. 8. The signature of electronic identification of the person reporting the defective condition. The tag of the car required for the paragraphs B1 of the section shall remain affixed for the defective equipment until the necessary repairs have been performed. An electronic written record of the copy of each of the tag attached for the removal of the car of the locomotive shall be retained for 90 days, upon which the request shall be available within the 15 calendar days of the inspection of the FRA state inspectors. For each tag of the car removed from the car of the locomotive should contain with the date of location region for the removal of the signature of the person removed from its place for the equipment. 5. The automated tracking device approved by the FRA to meet the tagging the requirements contained with the paragraph B1 of the section should be capable of being reviewed, monitored by the FRA at any time, ensuring the integrity of the system. The FRA associated with the administrator of the safety may prohibit, revoke the railroad's authority to utilize the approved automatic tracking system in lieu of the tagging, and if the FRA finds the automatic tracking system is not properly secure and accessible to the FRA railroad employees in the fails adequately track monitoring the movement of the defective, the FRA will record such a determination in writing, including the statement of the basis of such action provided with a copy of the documentation of the railroad. Movement of unloading, purging of the defective car. The defective car is loaded with the hazardous material or that contains the residual hazardous material. The car must be placed on the unloading of the purging unless for the unloading of the purging consists of the determination made with the restriction imposed under the paragraph A11(1) of the section unloading the purging of the necessary for the safe repair of the car. D. The computation of the percent of the operative power brakes. The percentage of the operative power brakes of the train shall be based on the number of the control valves in the train. The percentage shall be determined the dividing of the number of the control valves are cut in and by the total number of the control valves in the train. The control valve should be not be considered to cut in of the brakes and controlled by the valve are inoperative. But the cars or locomotive should be considered when making this calculation. Alright, 2. The following brake conditions are not in compliance with the part of the not considered with the inoperative part of the power of the brakes for the purpose of the section. Failed the cutting out the secondary brake system. 2. The inoperative otherwise defective handbrake power parking brakes. 3. The piston traveled the success with the Class 1 brake limit test as required with the Statute 232-205, but has not been exceeded the outside limits for the contained with an essential sticker to the badge plate required in 232-103G. For the considering of the power brakes, for the effect of the power brakes overdue for the inspection, testing, and maintenance and assembling under this part, the placement of the equipment and inoperative brakes of the freight car locomotive with the inoperative brakes shall be not placed in the rear of the car of the train. No more than 2 freight cars, either the inoperative brakes are not equipped with the power brakes, shall be consecutively placed on the same train. Multiple unit articulated equipment shall not be placed on the train if the equipment has more than 2 consecutive individual control devices cut out, or if the brakes are controlled by the valves inoperatively. F. The guidelines for determining the location when necessary to repair for the perform with the following guidelines will consider by the FRA when determining whether the location where the repaired car brakes of the components being performed, whether the nearest location where needed with the repairs are effectuated. The following general factors and guidelines will consider with making the determination of whether the location where the brakes repairs can be performed. 1. The accessibility of the location to the person responsible for making the repairs, the present for the hazardous conditions, the effective ability for the safely repair for the type needed for the location. 3. The nature of the repair necessary to bring the car into compliance. 4. The need of the railroads to have the place and the effective means to ensure the safe and the timely repair. 5. The relevant of the fracture, weather condition locating the effective accessibility created the hazard conditions. 6. The location not needed to have the ability to effectuate every type of the brake system repair in order to consider the location where some of the brakes repair can be performed. 7. A location not needed the shaft and continuous in order to be considered the location where the brake repairs can be performed. 8. The ability of the railroad to perform the repair track brake test in single car if the testing of the location shall not be considered. And 9. The congestion of the work of the location shall not be considered. 2. The general factors and guidelines outlined in the paragraph F1 of the section should be applied with the following location. 1. The location where the mobile repair trucks is used on a regular basis. 2. The location where the mobile repair trucks or originates permanently stationed. 3. The location in which the railroad performs mechanical repairs other than brake system repairs. 4. The location where it has been operative of the repair track of the repair shop. 3. The determining whether the nearest location of the nearest brake repairs can be made with the distance location. Key factors should not be considered with the determining of the facts of the distance of the location must be considered with the conjunction with the factors and guidance outlined in paragraph F1 and F2 of this section. In addition, with the following safety factors must be considered in order to optimize the safety. 1. The safety employed for the responsibility getting of the equipment from the particular location. 2. The potential safety hazard involved with the moving of the equipment direction with the travel necessary to get in the equipment in particular location. G. The designation of repair location based on the guidance detailed with the paragraph F of the section consistent with the other requirements contained. In this approval, the railroad may submit the detailed petition pursuant to special approvals procedure contained in Statute 232-117. 232-17 containing a plan designating location brake system repairs performed and improvement of such plan shall be in accordance with the procedure then contained in Statute 232-117 shall be subject to any modification determined the effort is necessary to ensure the consistency of the requirements guidance for the contained in this part. Alright, Statute 232-17, Special Approval Seizures. Generally, the following procedure given the consideration action requested the special approval of the plan in Statute 213-15G with the alternative standard under the Statute 213-305 and 213-603. The single car test procedure Statute 232-611, pre-revenue service and acceptance of the testing plans under the subpart F of this part. B, the petition special approval of the alternative standard of the test procedure. Each position special approval of the plan under Statute 213-15G, alternative standard of the 232-305. 232-603, and a single car test procedure in 232-611 shall contain name and title, address, telephone number of the primary person to be contacted regarding the review of the petition, the plan for the alternative standard of the test procedure, in detail submitted for the meet of the particular requirement of this part, the appropriate data analysis both of the FRA considered for determining whether the plan and alternative standard of the test procedure will be consistent with the guidance under the Statute 213-15F applicable will provide at least the equivalent level of safety or otherwise meet the requirements of the containing with this part. For the statement affirming that the railroad has served the copy of the petition designed with the representative of the employees together with a list of the name and address of the person served. Petition for the special pre-revenue service acceptance of the test plan. Each petition with special approval of the pre-revenue service acceptance plan test that shall contain the name and the title, the address, the telephone number of the primary person to be contacted with regard to the review of the petition and the elements described in the Statute 232-505. D. The service to any petition with the special approval under paragraphs B and C of this section shall be submitted with the Associated Administrative Safety Federal Railroad Administration, 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590. Several service of each of the petitions, special approval of the plan with the alternate standards submitted with the paragraph of the B with the section shall be made of the following. 1. The designated representative of the employed railroad submitting with the plan pursuant to 213-15G and the designed representative of the employee responsible for the equipment operation, inspection, testing, and maintenance under this part. 2. Any organization, body of either the issued standard or incorporated with the section with the rule of the which the special approval pertains to the issue, the alternative standard for this proposed in the petition. petition. 3. Any other person who has filled out with the FRA current with the same with the interest of the reviewing the special approval under the particular arrangement of the parts for at least 30 days, but not more than 5 years prior to the filling out of the petition, is filed with the same interest shall be filled with the FRA associated with administrative safety shall reference the specific section of this part where the person has interest. E. The Federal Register notice. The FRA will publish the notice for the Federal Register concerning each petition under the paragraph B of the section. F. The comment. F. Comment. No later than 30 days after the date of the publication notice for the Federal Register concerning the petition under the paragraph B of the section. Any petition person can comment on the position. A comment shall set forth the form, specifically a basis which what is to made and contain the concise statement of interest of the commentator with the proceeding with the comment shall be admitted with is associated with administrative with the safety of the Federal Railroad Administration, 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590. The commentator shall certify the copy of the comment served on each of the petitioner. The disposition of the petition to the FRA finds the petition complies with the requirements of this section and the proposed plan with the statute 232.15g. Alternative standard for the pre-revenue service plan with the accepted the justified with the petition will be granted normally with the 90 days receipt. If the petition is neither granted nor denied within 90 days, the petition remains pending with the decision. The FRA may attach the special conditions to approval to any of the petition. Following the approval petition, the FRA may reopen the consideration of the petition for the cause. The FRA finds the petition does not comply with the requirements of the section, then that the proposed plan with the statute 232.15g with the alternate standard for the pre-revenue service plan is not acceptable and justified with the petition will deny it normally will 90 days after its receipt. 3. When FRA grants or denies the petition, OREA opens the consideration petition. Written notice is sent to the petitioner and other interested parties. 232.19 availability of the records. Except otherwise provided with the records plan, but the part of this shall be made available to the President, representative of the FRA and state participation under the statute, Part 212 of this chapter, and inspection with copying upon the request. 232.21 Information collection. Information collection requirements in this part reviewed by the Office Management of the Building pursuant to the Paperwork Reduction Act of 1995 and or assumed Office of Management Budget Control number 2130-0008. This information collection requirements are found in these following sections, and we're going to go to subpart B, general requirements.